want something, the more you will stay in that want frequency. Because when you want something, you are acknowledging that you don't have it. You're acknowledging the lack of it. And therefore, that's where you're going to stay. You have to get out of the way. You have to imagine it. You have to imagine that you already have it, because you do. One of the things that is a little bit complicated to understand is how the actual process of creation works and how things get created into this reality. When you have a thought, that thought automatically already exists as a possibility, a wave of possibility in the quantum world, or in the universe, if that's what you want to call it. There's many names for it. And it's already yours. The only thing that's standing between that and you from actually experiencing it is coherence. Coherence is very important to understand. Coherence is what glues all the substances from the universe that are needed in order for that experience to be delivered into your experience on Earth. Coherence, everything comes from universal substance. Your emotions are universal substance. Your everything's energy. Everything's vibrating at a frequency, and that is, everything depends on which frequency it is. It categorizes itself as a different substance in the universe. So for example, money, you think of money as money, and you think that money comes from man, job. It doesn't. It may seem that way. It may seem to you in your reality that it comes in through a paycheck, or it comes in through some sort of compensation. But it doesn't. That's just the way it manifests itself into your reality, because you believe that's the way, it's the only way for you to receive it. But actually, money it comes from substance. Everything comes from universal substance. And in order for you to be able to experience it, you have to have coherence. And coherence is basically it presents itself as a sticky black or dark matter. And it's very much alive. It's a substance. It's alive. It's energy. And it gets all the things that is needed together in order for it to come through the womb. And the things that is needed are your emotions, your imagination. Because when you're imagining things, your emotions come in through that. If you're having a good day and you're staying in that good frequency, you're imagining good things. If you're imagining that you're fighting with somebody, then that's what your reality is, what's going to be in your reality. If you're imagining all the time that you're poor, that's what's going to be in your reality. Because you're not only talking about it, you're thinking about it, but you're also feeling about it. And so your thoughts, your emotions, and your words, they're all part of that coherence. When all that comes together and it marries itself, then coherence can grab it and put it through the womb of this fabric in between that quantum world and the physical world. And so that's where you have to imagine that you have it. I have stories to tell you that some of them are so simple and some of them are bigger. For example, a house that I really wanted to live in for a while, and I couldn't afford it. I didn't have the money to move in. But for 3 days, I drove by it as if I was going home. I didn't drive by and look at it. Oh, I really want this. No, no, no. I drove every day. I would come from work or wherever I was coming from, grocery store, whatever it was. And I would purposely drive into the street and pretend that I was going home and just feel so happy. There was no lack in my mind. I was happy that I was going home. And then I would imagine that I went in the house, and then I would live in the house. At night, when I went to sleep, I slept in that new house. I wasn't sleeping anymore in the current situation that I was in, that it seemed like I was never going to get out of. I would go to bed knowing that I was in my new house. I would go to my closet and pretend that I was in my new closet. I wasn't seeing the reality that was presented in front of me anymore. I was being very delusional, if you want to call that, and I was actually playing pretend that I was already where I wanted to be. 3 days, okay? The day of is the day of signing the contract now. This person has already other offers, but that person really wanted me to be in there, but all I needed to do was to come up with the money to move into this house. I went to Starbucks that day in the morning, and I sat down, I had coffee, and I was reading about metaphysics. And in that reading, there was a reminder of you have to deny your current situation and pretty much be delusional and pretend that you are living in your new reality that you want. And so I proceeded to deny what was going on, the fact that I didn't have any money in my account for this house. And I said, no, I deny this situation. I am moving into this house. Thank you for my new house. Thank you for the money that I need. I appreciate it. I imagine the money being in my account. Went to the grocery store, which is only, it's on the same shopping center. I drove there from one parking lot to another. And before I could get off the car, I got a phone call. The phone call was from somebody who was had the hunch to call me and ask me how my finances were going, and asked me if I had already moved out of the situation where I was in, because that person knew that I didn't like where I was at. When I told them what was going on, that person sent me all the money that I needed in that very moment. It got Venmo'd into my bank account or transferred, and called the person, the owner of the house, and went over, signed the contract, and next thing I know, I'm living the life that I wanted to live. So that's a little bit of a bigger example, but there's also smaller ones. For example, there was this bathrobes. Just a bathrobe is white, but it's fluffy and they're expensive. I didn't have any in my house, and I wanted one, but I didn't want to go spend the money. I was still in this mentality of, $300 and, whatever. And one day I'm doing a tour of a different house for different reasons. And I see this robe, and I touched it. Probably shouldn't have, but I did. I touched it and I felt it. And it was a quick touch. And then I imagined myself wearing it and walking around with it. It was so beautiful. And then I let it go. I didn't even do it on purpose. I wasn't trying to manifest it. It was just the joy of me playing pretend. 2 days later, I got 4, not 1. I got 4 robes of the same exact robe that I was looking at. 4. And only because I got out of the way. You have to get out of the way.